Hello, everyone. This is Shamika, and welcome to this Wednesday's office hours. So, what I've decided to do moving forward with our office hours, our biweekly office hours, is kind of have a topic. So, this particular week's office hours was actually pretty busy. So, make sure you mark your calendars to join us every other Wednesday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. So, you can kind of jump in whenever you're ready, as long as you're within that time frame. Just be mindful when you do come in that other people might be in the process of asking questions and stuff like that. So I encourage people to come in, make sure you mute your phones. I'll definitely get to your questions. And what I also plan to do is include like a super short, quick topic that I might have in mind that might be a benefit to you guys to talk about as well, just to kind of fill in the time. So for this particular topic, I chose virtual assistants. So what I decided to do was actually kind of share a little bit about my own experience with my virtual assistants, since I've had a few. And then also kind of do like some tips and do's and don'ts. As I mentioned in the call earlier today, I am just kind of giving my experience, but Dee Marie did a great presentation that kind of talks about, organizing, getting ready and things of that nature to work with a virtual assistant. So she's a great resource to connect to. I'll drop her information below. And then kind of talk a little bit about what this is. And then probably towards the end, talk a little bit about what my experience was. So I've been in the healthcare staffing industry business for about, I believe this is third or fourth year I'm going into it. And we've used virtual assistants many times. So from an economical standpoint of view and just like functional wise, having a person working virtually is really key to our business. And it's definitely the direction that not just this industry, but just like work in general is moving towards. So originally, when we had introduced the virtual assistant idea, we were very ambitious. And to our own, I'm not gonna say detriment, but to our own challenges that we later had to deal with, we didn't quite plan as much ahead of the time as far as what we were looking for in expectations. So from that experience, and I'll delve a little bit more into that. Until now, I'm doing it way better. So one of the things that I learned from that experience was just kind of being more prepared, writing down specifically the things that you want that person to do. It's more challenging, but it's definitely beneficial to kind of know how long it takes to do the task so that you feel like you're getting your money's worth. We're small business owners, we don't have early on the extra income to give someone who's not producing the resources that we need or the results that we're looking for. So really sitting down and calculating the task that you do on a daily basis matters. In this call today, one of the NOSA members, I worked with her, we walked through the process of taking an applicant from the application process into StaffRelink, the vendor management system. And it took us maybe like 45 minutes. So that kind of sets the expectation if you're saying to your particular virtual assistant, hey, I want you to get 4 or 5 people in the system, or hey, I want you to make so many calls or do references. So that gives you a great point of reference to work from. So now on to how technology helps bring it all together for me. So I was introduced to Trello, which is for me, I call it a virtual whiteboard. So for those of you guys who use whiteboards, like those really big whiteboards where there's writing everywhere in different colors and things of that nature, which is me, this is kind of what it reminds me of. It's more tech driven, so you kind of have to work with it. But this helped me work with my most recent virtual assistant on more of the NOSA, the business consulting side of my business, than on the staffing side. So a little bit of, and both applies, but a little bit about how this platform works. So it really allows you to put everything out there, right? So you want to give your VA as much information as possible. You don't want them to have to look anywhere, reach out to you several times a day, do a lot of that back and forth with you, which defeats the purpose from a standpoint of view as far as time. So for me, a big thing that I wanted to get back was some of my time. So I was willing to pay somebody to help facilitate that. So essentially what it is just kind of like a whiteboard where it kind of gives like a little bit of history of the company, some of the to-do list items that they'll be able to handling, some items that I'm handling, and then it allows us to kind of see where we are in the mix. As you see, there are quite a few things that I am behind on or overdue. You can put due dates on stuff, which is really nice. You can provide insight and information about what you want them to do, any particular assignments. If you want them to do a series of things, you can add a checklist, you know, complete social media posts. And then it'll come up as a checklist, attend training. You know, and one of the ways that I use this particular tool is that I'm able to do checklists, I do descriptions, you kind of give it a topic. I try to keep it simple and I just have priority for the week. And then some outstanding things that might be something that's not necessarily completed in a week's time. And then I kind of go from there. I tell people activity is a great place to kind of drop examples or things that you may, for instance, if you saw something you want them to duplicate or recreate, this is a great place to do that. You can drop images, you can drop websites, and you can always add a card if you wanted to there. So those are great things. And then you just kind of close it out. You can put due dates if you want to put dates on it that you want certain items to. You know, it'll sit here. So everything kind of sits here and kind of has its place in the workflow. So prior to setting this up, what I typically have done is kind of created a list for myself. So I write down like what the goal is for that week, kind of where I'm going to be. You can set up days, like if you have theme days or something like that, that's a great option. I do it by the whole week just because I do a lot of different things and just kind of jump in from there. So from there, that's kind of how I create his to-do list. That's how I move things over. If there's pieces of it that I need to complete. And then of course, for us, probably like you guys as well, social media is an ongoing thing. So instead of me looking through Canva every time I want to post, I just tell him, and I do it myself, when I'm in Canva, if I see some really cool or interesting pictures, I just drop it here. And then over time, we'll find a place for it. Like this post went up on the website. I think a couple of these went up on the Instagram. So we'll find a place for it. We kind of tailor it or doctor it up a little bit to fit the logo colors, brand colors for the particular business. And then it'll just sit out here and then we'll just grab some more and keep it moving. And as you can see, these are kind of the results of the post that we did and a lot of what the work we've done. So this is an example of a website, a piece of a website that I wanted to recreate. So this is what I attached to his to-do list. So this really helps me and it's an easy workflow. One of the nice things about Trello is you can make it as simple or complicated as you want it to be. So these are the things that we work on. But prior to this, there was a column for the website, which has already been launched. And some of the things related to that, but since it's already launched and all those activities are done, it's just kind of a part of the ongoing to-do list. I do encourage people, which was a recommendation to me, is to have your VAs create SOPs, standard operating procedures for you, workflows, so that, hey, if something happens, you don't have to start from scratch. And in the process of really identifying what works best, this allows them to kind of be in the loop no matter where they are. So for me, it's important to properly and most effectively manage my time. So I try to manage his time where I have this updated every week by Sunday night. We meet on Monday, so we do meet every week. And then in the meantime, you can communicate on these. Let me see one where we've gone back and forth, like this one. So this was completed. There was some pieces missing. And then he's kind of communicating, hey, Shamika, this is the list from the course. Hey, here are the questions from the blog. So you can communicate on here and kind of follow where we left off in the process. And then this allows me to be able to pick up where I need to pick up and complete any additional things. And the communication is like text messaging. I've set up my Trello to receive a message every end of the day to kind of get a synopsis of what happened today versus on a regular basis, because I think there is an option where you can get, every time there's an update, you can get an alert. That's a little bit much for me. And this doesn't take away from emailing or text messaging or anything like that, but it kind of creates a little bit more of a uniform place, as well as a little bit better of a workflow. So like I said, when we go here, we can see all these things were done. And of course, there's some outstanding things on my list, and they're always going to be there, which is fine. And then of course, there's some outstanding things on his list, and then you can move stuff around. So if this is a, kind of a secondary thing, it works like this. I also have this particular box where we talk about weekly activities, and these are things that he'll do on a weekly basis. So if he has downtime or anything like that, and then of course, this is just a note, any workflows for activities done at least 3 times. So that's kind of where we've decided that's the best fit. From a informational standpoint of view, he has the information about the company, highlights, and this is something you can add to as you need to. He has pictures of the logo, so there's different pictures of the logo for the business. Then you also have contact information, so his email address, my email address, which he has, as well as my phone number to contact me. A welcome letter, which is a part of what we send out to newbies to welcome them to the NOSA group. You want to make sure they have all your social media links. So I'm on all of these links, and he can just click here to go there, or here if he's going to Facebook groups or to the YouTube channel. If he wants to know, if someone asks about preferred partners, or if there's something I want him to do with that, that kind of hits there. And then you can continue to add to it. So as needed, you can add to it. What I tell people as far as just like a recommendation, and I'm going to stop sharing, is to, if at all possible, try to establish with your virtual assistant their own logins. What I've done, and most platforms allow you to do, is set up his role as either a manager or administrator like you, or a marketing person, or something secondary where they can still have access and ask questions or access the information, but it's not through your login. And one of the reasons I recommend it, because it can get a little tricky if they were to move on. So it's easier to deactivate one account than have to change the password of your current account. So that's just something to think about. And then finally, some of the things I learned from my first experience with a virtual assistant until now. So initially for us, there's 2 sides of our business. We have the consulting side, and then we also have the actual staffing agency. So I'm just going to talk about the staffing agency at this point. Initially, we had people working in the recruiting and compliance role. And in that role, it was very challenging. So it's always great to work with people in any virtual assistant role who's comfortable with technology. They know how to get on a Zoom. They know how to send emails. They're comfortable with platforms like Trello or HubSpot or client relationship managers or any sort of technology, Canva or Photoshop or Illustrator. Those are all great things that you want to look for in those roles, especially if you're going to have them do things related to social media or where they have to interact via the internet or email with other people. For us, we started out with a compliance coordinator who was doing a lot of what you guys are doing, and we kind of talked through about as far as uploading the documents, verifying the documents. So it was very task oriented. And that's where identifying what type of VA you need is important, because there are great and amazing VAs who do task oriented things, which I would say uploading documents into SafraLink, doing job posting is more of your task oriented types of work activities. But then there's kind of what I would say a more mid-level type of VA who does probably some of the tasks, but can also do things like create a presentation for your potential client with some direction, prepare the entire posting and get your approval, be able to look at some of your social media and your website platforms and kind of get an idea of your themes and kind of what your brand is about and things of that nature. They probably have other technical skill sets, whether it's through Google or other certifications or other computer systems. They've worked in a CRM, they've worked as a VA with other businesses. They have some additional technical skill set in place as well. So for us, because we didn't initially pick people who had those things, it was a little bit challenging to manage the task piece and the timeliness. So what you guys saw in Trello is also something that I'm really big on. Is I need things to be done in a certain time frame. So for those of you guys who are using StafferLink and you're like, hey, Shamika, I think in the next couple of months I want to add a VA, that's cool, but you really want to be specific with that VA, as well as hold them accountable to, for us, it was, we need 5 people active every week in StafferLink. That was the requirement. That was the minimum requirement. And depending on what was going on, it could be more, but that was the requirement. So they had access to the systems and knew the steps, but sometimes that can get a little bit tricky. So training, really taking out the time and training them. If you get the opportunity to have them attend the StafferLink training or any other training that you're having that might be one-on-one, do it. Have them join or jump in. My VA has been on some of the training. He's been in some of the NOSA office hours with me, just so that that kind of brings it all together from a perspective of, okay, so this is what he or she does. This is why she wants it this way, or this is why things need to look a certain way. When you kind of move into more of your interpersonal activities with virtual assistants, you want someone who has a level of experience and knowledge in that. So like interviews or reference checking or things of that nature, you want someone who already has a history of that or is comfortable. So you don't necessarily always have to have a history, as much as I would recommend someone who's comfortable. So like interviews and stuff like that, I did mostly, but kind of the initial screen is something that we had our VAs handle. And sometimes if they have experience but aren't comfortable, that's something that you as a business owner can really train them on and coach them through. The other piece is social media. Social media, when we started, was definitely not as big as it is now, but I know that's kind of an area that a lot of NOSAs find challenges in. So for social media, you want someone that's comfortable with Canva and Photoshop so that they can edit pictures and change text and kind of communicate the message of the brand, no matter what the post is. Who can, take little direction and kind of create what you're looking for, because they understand what the business is. And sometimes you also have to check in with your VA to kind of make sure that they're clear. So for me, that was also a challenge for us early on, was that the messaging wasn't clear as it needed to be and the expectations weren't clear. So that's why with this experience, I'm in love with Trello, because it allows me to put all the thoughts or all the steps or all the resources and all the information into one location for them to easily be able to access it, and limits a lot of the meetings and the back and forth that we had done in previous experiences. I would also, when we talk about the time, start off on the lower end of the time crunch. So for instance, I wouldn't start off with having a VA work 40 hours if there's an option, which they should be, for them to do 20. When you think about the task, a lot of the recruiting, human resources related tasks, not so much the interpersonal skill tasks, those things can be done in a short period of time. And it may require organizational skills or organization on both parties' part, so that you're organized and you're able to communicate and share and give them the tools and resources and training that they need. And then it will also require on the end of the VA to have those things in place as well. So that's all I got for you guys. The presentation was about 30 minutes. We're definitely hitting the 30-minute mark. Probably in the next month or so, probably October, I'm gonna say, we'll probably have DeMarie come in and she'll kind of share some of her own insight and some of the other systems that she's using that's kind of helped her with the transition. But yes, I agree, virtual assistants are great investments. When doing so, make sure that you're ready, you're prepared, and that you have specific activities and things that you want them to accomplish. that you've taken out the time to really make sure that they have the tools and resources and any training or information that they need in order to do that, so that when they're doing it, they're not having to reach back to you as much to get things answered because they've been provided all the information. I wouldn't necessarily do a VA early on so that you as the business owner can really understand the workflow and the processes of how you want the business to run. And then that makes it a lot easier to train or educate someone else in doing it. So that's all I have. As always, if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. And I will see you guys at the next office hours, which will be in 2 weeks. So we'll actually be in Las Vegas doing the office hours. So it should be fun and engaging. Definitely check us out from 12 to 2 p.m. We're going to still try and do it Eastern, but I'll update you guys once we get there. So I will see you guys again on Wednesday, September 29th.